What happens when Hollywood's brightest lights begin to fade long before their time? Not because of scandal, not because of fame gone wrong, but because of quiet, brutal battles the world never saw coming. Behind the red carpets, the blockbuster glory, and those million-dollar smiles, many beloved black actors were fighting illnesses that slowly stole everything from them. Some hid their pain behind flawless performances. Others unraveled in the harsh glare of the public eye. And a few paid the ultimate price. In this video, we honor 20 black actors whose lives were claimed by heartbreaking, devastating diseases. Prepare yourself. These stories are tragic, powerful, and impossible to forget. Chadwick Boseman wasn't just an actor, he was a miracle in motion. For 4 long years, he carried one of Hollywood's greatest secrets, a private, agonizing battle with colon cancer. And yet, while chemotherapy drained his body, he stepped onto film sets with the heart of a warrior and the grace of a king. No one knew. Not his fans. Not the reporters. Not even many people he worked with. All they saw was a man who brought Black Panther to life with a dignity, strength, and quiet power that reshaped an entire generation. While the world was shouting, "Wakanda forever," Chadwick was fighting for his own forever behind closed doors. What makes his story even more unbelievable is how much he accomplished while suffering in silence. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, The Five Bloods, 21 Bridges. He filmed them all, sometimes receiving treatment between scenes, never complaining, never slowing down, never letting the world see his pain. His dedication wasn't just impressive. It was superhuman. Born in South Carolina and trained at Howard University, Boseman first shined in theater, writing and directing before ever stepping in front of a camera. His breakout role as Jackie Robinson in 42 showed his gift for portraying real legends with honor and emotional truth. But it was Black Panther that turned him into a global icon. For millions of black children, seeing a heroic, brilliant, noble king who looked like them was life-changing. Chadwick didn't just play T'Challa, he embodied him. His family honored his wishes by keeping his diagnosis private, allowing him to keep working right up until the end. When he passed at just 43, the world was stunned. He had looked strong, vibrant, even unstoppable. Nobody imagined he was suffering in silence. The flood of tributes that followed revealed who he really was: kind, disciplined, generous, and deeply committed to his craft. Colleagues said he lifted everyone around him, even on days when he must have been in unbearable pain. Chadwick Boseman left behind more than blockbuster films. He left behind a legacy of courage, purpose, and excellence, a reminder that real heroes don't need capes. Sometimes they simply walk among us, carrying battles we never see. Michael Clarke Duncan once said, "Please don't put that thing over my face, don't put me in the dark." It was a line that carried fear, innocence, and soul, because that's who Michael was. A mountain of a man on the outside, but on the inside, pure light. At 6 feet 5 inches, built like a freight train, Duncan was the kind of actor you felt before you even saw him. Yet the moment he opened his mouth, that deep, gentle voice made audiences fall in love with him. The Green Mile didn't just make him famous, it revealed a rare gift. He wasn't just a big man playing big roles. He was a true actor, pulling emotion out of places most people never show. But behind that warm smile, Michael was fighting a silent enemy. In 2012, he suffered a devastating heart attack. His girlfriend found him collapsed and performed CPR, an act that kept him alive long enough to fight. And fight he did. Months in the hospital. Complications. Surgeries. Hope rising, then slipping away again. His body, once powerful enough to intimidate anyone, could no longer keep up. The tragedy? Michael Clarke Duncan lived clean. He didn't drink. He didn't smoke. He was a vegetarian who took care of himself. But heart disease, cruel, unpredictable, doesn't care about discipline or goodness. Genetics can be merciless, even to the kindest souls. Before Hollywood, Michael was a bodyguard for stars like Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. Protective, loyal, always looking out for others. It makes sense. Behind that giant frame was a man with a heart too soft for the world he carried on his shoulders. Acting was his second life, And still, he earned an Oscar nomination for The Green Mile. As John Coffey, he made you believe in miracles. He made you cry for a man who could heal others but couldn't save himself. That performance wasn't just acting, it was truth. Even after the heart attack, Duncan tried to return to the craft he loved. He filmed a few more projects, pushed through recovery, and kept giving whatever strength he had left. But his body never fully recovered. Michael Clarke Duncan died at just 54 years old, but he left behind something rare, the legacy of a gentle giant whose presence could shake a theater, and whose tenderness could break your heart in the best way. He reminded the world that strength isn't measured in size, it's measured in soul. And his soul was enormous. Bernie Mac once said, "Be yourself, son." But he didn't just say it, he lived it. On the Bernie Mac show, he had this rare gift. He could make you laugh until you couldn't breathe, and then break your heart just a moment later. He mixed comedy and truth like nobody else, turning real family struggles into something honest, raw, and unforgettable. Behind the jokes, Bernie was fighting a quiet battle. Sarcoidosis, a disease that inflames the lungs and other organs, had been tightening its grip on him for years. Breathing became hard, performing became harder, but he kept going. Because Bernie Mac wasn't just a comedian. He was a man who loved making people laugh more than he loved his own comfort. What made Bernie extraordinary was his honesty. He didn't hide his past, his pain, or his illness. He spoke openly about sarcoidosis so others would know they weren't suffering alone. That same honesty fueled his rise on the original Kings of Comedy tour with Steve Harvey, D.L. Hughley, and Cedric the Entertainer. Bernie stood out because he was real, Chicago South Side real. His comedy came from scars, hardship, and life lessons he earned the hard way. He wasn't just funny off stage either. When his sister couldn't take care of her kids, Bernie stepped in and raised them himself. That deep devotion to family became the inspiration behind the Bernie Mac show, proving he could turn struggle into storytelling gold. In 2008, when he was hospitalized, fans believed he'd bounce back just like before. But complications from pneumonia, made worse by sarcoidosis, took him from us far too soon. At just 50 years old, right as his career was reaching its peak, the world lost a one-of-a-kind voice. Bernie Mac didn't just make people laugh. He made them feel. And that's why he remains unforgettable. Gregory Hines. The man who could make a wooden floor sing. I got rhythm, I got music, I got my gal. Who could ask for anything more? For Gregory, that wasn't just a lyric. It was a way of life. He wasn't just a tap dancer. He was a force of nature who moved with a joy so electric you could feel it through the screen. In White Nights in the Cotton Club, he tap danced like a storm you couldn't look away from. In Waiting to Exhale, he proved he could break your heart just as easily as he could make you smile. Gregory wasn't a man who fit in one box. He lived in every spotlight he ever touched. What most people didn't know was that while he was dazzling audiences, liver cancer was quietly tightening its grip. It's a cruel disease that hides in the shadows until it's far too late. But Gregory kept dancing, kept working, kept performing. Because movement wasn't just something he did, it was who he was. The man simply didn't know how to be still. Born into a family of performers, Gregory and his brother Maurice started tapping before most kids learned to ride a bike. The Hines brothers became legends long before Gregory went solo, but no matter how big he became, you could still see that childhood joy in every step he took. What made Gregory Hines different wasn't just skill, it was soul. He danced like every rhythm was a celebration, every tap a heartbeat. He had a warmth, a swagger, a charisma that pulled you into his world and made you want to move with him. And when he crossed into acting, he didn't miss a beat. In Running Scared with Billy Crystal, he showed he could land a joke as effortlessly as he could land a tap sequence. His timing, whether comedic or dramatic, was razor sharp. He knew how to connect with an audience in a way that felt personal, intimate, almost spiritual. When Gregory Hines died at just 57, the tap dancing world didn't just lose an entertainer, they lost a guardian. He spent his life preserving the art form, mentoring young dancers, and keeping the tradition alive for a new generation. His feet may be silent now, but his rhythms are still echoing through every dancer who ever watched him and whispered, "I want to do that." Gregory Hines didn't just dance. He left footsteps that the world still follows. Clarence Williams III once said, "I lost my sons. I lost my babies." And behind that haunting voice was a man far more complex than the characters he played. To many, he was Samson Simpson in Half-Baked, the tough, intimidating figure who stole every scene he stepped into. But Clarence was no ordinary actor. He was Shakespeare-trained, a performer with such depth and discipline that he could move from comedy to tragedy with effortless grace. Quiet, private, and fiercely professional, Clarence kept his battle with colon cancer hidden from the world. That was who he'd always been, a man who spoke through his craft, not through the spotlight. His breakout came as Link Hayes on the Mod Squad, one of the most groundbreaking shows of the late 60s. At a time when television rarely showed diversity, Clarence brought power, dignity, and cool restraint to a role that could have easily fallen into stereotype. He didn't just act the part, he elevated it. Born and raised in New York, trained from childhood, Clarence's theater roots shaped everything he touched. Whether he played heroes, villains, or those unforgettable intense characters in films like Against the Wall and Reindeer Games, he delivered performances that lingered long after the credits rolled. Even into his 80s, he never slowed down. He kept working, kept creating, kept giving audiences characters they would never forget. Clarence Williams III passed away at 81, leaving behind not just a 6-decade career, but a legacy of artistry, discipline, and unwavering integrity. A quiet giant whose work will echo far beyond his final curtain call. Ron Glass wasn't just an actor, you felt him the moment he stepped on screen. Even when he delivered a sharp, playful line like, "What's with the Reverend fencing stolen merchandise?" Or, "You gonna throw the good book at him?" He did it with a smile that made you lean in, not pull back. From the quick-witted Detective Harris on Barney Miller to the soulful, mysterious Shepard book on Firefly, Ron Glass carried a rare warmth and intelligence that made audiences trust him instantly. He wasn't loud, he wasn't flashy, he was the kind of performer who made every scene feel grounded, human, and real. What many didn't know is that Glass had been quietly battling health problems for years. He kept his personal struggles private, so when respiratory failure claimed his life, it came as a painful shock to fans who had no idea he'd been suffering. Barney Miller remains one of the smartest sitcoms ever made, and Glass's Detective Harris, equal parts ambitious writer and charming detective, helped define its brilliance. Born and raised in Indiana, he studied theater at the University of Evansville before heading to California, where he built a career marked by professionalism, curiosity, and a deep respect for the craft. Then came Firefly, a role that allowed him to explore something deeper and almost spiritual. As Shepard Book, Glass brought a quiet gravitas that hinted at a lifetime of secrets, pain, and redemption. It was a performance that stayed with you long after the credits rolled. When he passed, the sci-fi world mourned hard. Not just because he was part of a beloved universe, but because Ron Glass reminded everyone that even in the far reaches of space, the heart of the story always beats in its characters. A gentle soul, a brilliant actor, and a man who made every moment feel meaningful. Ron Glass didn't just play roles, he elevated them. Diahann Carroll, I wanted to be the first black woman on television. And she wasn't just first, she was unforgettable. Diahann Carroll shattered barriers with a grace and confidence that made America stop and stare. When Julia premiered, she became the first black woman to lead a TV show in a non-domestic role, playing a smart, capable nurse and single mother. She carried that character with such dignity and quiet power that she didn't just entertain, she inspired an entire generation. But Carroll's courage didn't stop at the screen. When she was diagnosed with breast cancer, she refused to hide it. Instead, she went public, using her voice to push for early detection, regular checkups, and better health awareness for women everywhere. She turned her pain into purpose. Long before Hollywood came calling, Diahann was a nightclub singer with a voice smooth enough for jazz, bold enough for Broadway, and polished enough for pop standards. Her music career was already shining before television made her a household name. Then came Dynasty. As Dominique Devereaux, Carroll ditched the gentle warmth of Julia and stepped into pure glamour, sharp, stylish, and deliciously dramatic. She proved her range was limitless, owning every scene with the elegance of a queen and the fire of a woman who knew her worth. For over 60 years, Diahann Carroll conquered every stage she touched: nightclubs, Broadway, television, and film. When she passed away at 84, she left behind more than a legacy. She left a path. A door she kicked open so others could walk through. A pioneer. A powerhouse. A woman who changed television forever. Artistry. That's creation through pure physical storytelling. And in Harry and the Hendersons, he flipped the script. Suddenly gentle, tender, disarmingly lovable. A 7-foot Bigfoot with the heart of a child. Only Kevin could do that. But his greatest battle came off-screen. During surgery, he received a blood transfusion tainted with HIV, an unimaginable tragedy at a time when the world barely understood AIDS and fear overshadowed compassion. He kept working, kept giving everything he had to his craft, even as the illness quietly tightened its grip. When Kevin Peter Hall died at just 35, he left behind more than film credits. He left behind characters that still live in pop culture, creatures that became icons because of the man inside the suit. His story is a reminder of how talent can shine through anything, even masks, makeup, and the shadows of a devastating epidemic. Kevin wasn't just the Predator. He wasn't just Harry. He was a giant with a gentle heart, taken far too soon. Sherman Hemsley, Mr. and Mrs. Willis got a pension plan. You and Miss Jefferson got a pension plan. What about me? What have I got? Crow's feet. Sherman Hemsley turned George Jefferson into one of the most unforgettable characters in television history. The Jeffersons ran an incredible 11 seasons, and every episode crackled with Hemsley's sharp timing, bold energy, and that signature strut that made America laugh for decades. Nobody could land a punchline the way he did. Fast, fearless, and with a spark that felt completely his own. Behind all the comedy, Hemsley was a deeply private man. When he was diagnosed with lung cancer, he kept it quiet, refusing to let his personal battles overshadow his craft. He came from a generation that believed in showing up, doing the work, and leaving the drama at the door. Before fame, he worked regular jobs while chasing the acting dream. That struggle, those years of grinding, gave him a grounded perspective that he poured into George Jefferson. Even when the character was loud, outrageous, or stubborn, you could always feel something real underneath. George Jefferson first appeared on All in the Family as Archie Bunker's new neighbor, and audiences loved him so much that he earned his own spin-off. Hemsley made him hilarious, but also human. A successful black businessman still wrestling with his insecurities. And that opening theme, "Movin' On Up," became iconic in part because of Hemsley's swagger. In those few seconds alone, he convinced America that George Jefferson had truly made it. After the Jeffersons, Hemsley never stopped performing. He returned to theater, took smaller TV roles, and stayed close to the fans who adored him. When he passed away, the world didn't just lose an actor. It lost the man who brought a decade of joy, laughter, and unforgettable moments into millions of living rooms. Sherman Hemsley didn't just play George Jefferson, he defined him. And television has never been the same without him. Esther Rall wasn't just Florida Evans from Good Times. She was the heartbeat, the dignity, and the unshakable backbone of the entire show. Long before that famous joke, "Buffalo butt," ever made the studio audience roar, Esther was fighting behind the scenes for something far more important: respect. She demanded that Florida Evans be more than a stereotype. Even when the writers leaned too heavily into comedy, she pushed back, insisting that the Evans family be shown with realism, pride, and humanity. And every time she stepped on screen, she elevated the series with performances rooted in her own life experience. Born in Florida as one of 18 children, Esther knew what it meant to survive, to struggle, and to hold a family together with pure strength. That authenticity flowed into every line she delivered. Before Good Times, she sharpened her craft in serious theater and broke through on Maude as Florida the housekeeper. When she finally got her own show, she made one thing clear: Florida Evans must have a husband, a full family, and a storyline built on dignity, not cheap jokes. When the show drifted too far towards slapstick, Esther walked away. She felt JJ's clownish behavior was overshadowing the real, complicated story of a black family navigating hard times. Her return came with a promise: her voice would matter. Despite battling diabetes, a disease that slowly attacks the body when left unmanaged, Esther continued to work, perform, and advocate for better representation of black families on television. Later, she shined in films like Driving Miss Daisy and returned to her first love, theater. And through it all, she remained a fighter, a woman determined to reshape how black women were seen on screen. Esther Rall passed away at 78, leaving behind more than roles. She left a legacy of dignity, courage, and a career built on fighting for respect every single day. Tommy Ford, what have you done to yourself? Funny, I was about to ask you the same thing. That quick exchange captures everything people loved about Tommy Ford: sharp, smooth, and effortlessly funny. As Tommy Strawn on Martin, he was Martin Lawrence's calm, cool best friend who always ended up being the punchline, and somehow made every joke even funnier. His timing was flawless. His facial expressions? Legendary. He didn't just deliver jokes, he absorbed them, flipped them, and sent them right back with a grin that made millions laugh. But behind the laughs was a quiet professional who worked hard for every moment in the spotlight. Born in New York, Ford climbed his way up through gritty stand-up clubs, performing alongside other hungry young comedians who were all dreaming of their big break. Those nights taught him something priceless: how to make people feel seen, understood, and connected. By the 1990s, Martin exploded into a cultural phenomenon, and Tommy Strawn was the glue in that cast. The running joke about Tommy's mysterious job became one of TV's greatest inside jokes. Nobody ever figured out how he made money, but he always showed up looking sharp and spending like a man with a solid paycheck. After the show ended, Ford never faded. He kept acting, kept working, kept making people laugh. In TV, in movies, and on stage. That same warm, likable energy never left him. Which is why the news of his death hit so hard. A ruptured abdominal aneurysm, one of those sudden, silent killers that gives no warning. Ford was only 52. He had been performing, smiling, and living life just days before. He seemed healthy. He seemed fine. And then, in an instant, everything changed. The comedy world didn't just lose an actor. It lost a heartbeat, a man whose laughter, charm, and spirit shaped a generation of black television. Tommy Strawn may have never explained what he did for a living, but Tommy Ford gave the world something far more valuable: joy. Roxy Roker wasn't just an actress, she was a groundbreaker. The moment she stepped onto The Jeffersons as Helen Willis, half of TV's very first interracial married couple, she rewrote what American television thought was possible. That famous line, "Tom, would you please pinch me?" wasn't just comedy. It was a quiet revolution wrapped in charm. Roker brought elegance, intelligence, and warmth to a role that easily could have stirred controversy. Instead, she made it feel real, natural, loving, and beautifully human. That was her gift. She didn't perform the moment, she lived it. What audiences never saw was the private battle she carried with her. Roxy Roker fought breast cancer with the same quiet strength she brought to her work. Coming from a generation that guarded personal struggles, she chose dignity over spotlight, continuing to act even as illness pressed in from the shadows. Before she became a household name, Roker honed her craft in theater and small television parts. She was a trained actress, disciplined, prepared, and deeply committed. Every scene carried the mark of someone who respected the art of storytelling. Her on-screen marriage with Franklin Cover was groundbreaking, but it was their chemistry, warm, playful, believable, that made America fall in love. Together, they showed that love could cross racial lines without turning every moment into a lesson. They made it feel real. And behind the scenes, Roxy was also raising future rock legend Lenny Kravitz. Creativity ran through her family like a current. She encouraged his music while building her own legacy, balancing motherhood and career with a quiet strength that rarely gets the recognition it deserves. Even after The Jeffersons ended, Roker never stepped away from the work she loved. She stayed active in theater and television, always connected to the craft that shaped her life. When she passed away at 66, Hollywood didn't just lose an actress, it lost a pioneer. Roxy Roker helped America see love, race, and relationships through a different lens. She opened doors that others would walk through, proving that sometimes the most powerful revolutions happen in living rooms, one episode at a time. Natalie Desselle Reid was the kind of actress who could steal a scene with nothing more than a look, a laugh, or one perfectly timed line. In films like BPS and Eve's Bayou, she didn't just play characters, she lifted them off the page and breathed real life into them. Natalie had that rare gift. She could be funny without forcing it, warm without trying, and unforgettable without even knowing it. But behind the jokes and the vibrant on-screen energy, Natalie was fighting a silent war. Colon cancer claimed her at just 53, far too young for someone who still had so much light to give. She kept her diagnosis private, choosing to protect her family and continue working despite the pain. Most people never knew she was battling something so devastating. In BPS, alongside Halle Berry, Natalie delivered one of the most iconic comedic performances of the 90s. As Mickey, the bold and outspoken best friend, she became a cultural memory. People still quote her lines to this day. Her chemistry with Berry was effortless, electric, and pure joy to watch. But Natalie was more than comedy. On television shows like Eve, she showed her range with deeper, more dramatic moments that proved she wasn't just the funny friend, she was a fully formed, emotionally grounded actress with real depth. After becoming a mother, Natalie shifted her focus, balancing family and career with the same grace she brought to her roles. She worked when she could, loved fiercely, and stayed true to the people who mattered most. When news of her passing broke, fans and fellow actors were stunned. Nobody knew she had been suffering. That was Natalie, always uplifting others, even while carrying a weight she never revealed. Her strength was quiet. Her legacy is loud. And her laughter, spirit, and heart will be remembered long after the credits fade. Jeanette Du Bois wasn't just an actress, she was a force of nature. Shoulders lifted with confidence, a smile bright enough to light up an entire block, and a charm so sharp it could stop you in your tracks. When she stepped into the role of Willona Woods on Good Times, she didn't just play a character, she created a cultural icon. Willona was funny, fierce, stylish, and always ready to fire off a comeback that left everyone else scrambling to keep up. Her lines became catchphrases, her attitude became legend, and her presence shaped the entire soul of the show. But behind all that brilliance was a woman with extraordinary range. Jeanette was more than a TV star, she was a gifted singer and songwriter. She didn't just co-write the Jeffersons theme, Movin' On Up. She sang it, placing her voice into one of the most recognizable melodies in television history. Millions heard her before they ever even knew her name. Her journey wasn't overnight. Before Good Times, she paid her dues on theater stages, in nightclubs, and in small TV roles, crafting a career with grit, grace, and undeniable talent. And off-screen, she gave just as much as she got. Jeanette poured herself into community work, supporting causes that mattered and staying connected to the people who lifted her up. Her death, the result of cardiac arrest, was a painful reminder of how quietly heart issues can grow, how often we don't realize the body is sounding an alarm until it's too late. When Jeanette Du Bois passed, Hollywood didn't just lose a performer, it lost a storyteller, a pioneer, a woman whose magic had touched generations. Her legacy on Good Times and the Jeffersons will never fade. Her voice, her spirit, her fire, they live on in every laugh, every lyric, every memory she left behind. Robert Guillaume had one of those voices you couldn't ignore, rich, commanding, and full of quiet authority. Whether he was delivering a sharp one-liner on Soap or anchoring a heartfelt moment on Benson, he moved effortlessly between comedy and drama with intelligence, dignity, and soul. But behind the spotlight, Guillaume fought battles many men know too well. He was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and instead of hiding it, he used his own journey to encourage others to get checked, to stay vigilant, and to take their health seriously. Before television fame, Guillaume built his career on the stage. He lit up Broadway in Guys and Dolls and The Phantom of the Opera, where his powerful, expressive voice proved he could hold a room with a single note. And when he brought that same voice to animation, most famously as Rafiki in The Lion King, he created a character so warm and wise that generations still remember his words. Benson was revolutionary. It showed a black man rising from housekeeper to running the governor's office, smart, confident, and unapologetically capable. Guillaume played that evolution with precision and grace, proving that black actors could lead, inspire, and redefine what television looked like. In his later years, a stroke challenged his speech and movement, but even that couldn't dim his spirit. He kept working, kept pushing, kept inspiring. Younger actors admired him not just for his talent but for his leadership, humility, and strength. When Robert Guillaume passed, he didn't just leave behind a resume, he left a legacy. A legacy of breaking barriers, elevating every role he touched, and showing the world that excellence has no boundaries and no color. His dignity, his voice, and his impact live on forever. Rosalind Cash, I feel that we are international because we encompass it all. Those words came from a woman who lived them. Rosalind Cash wasn't just an actress, she was a force. A powerhouse presence who carried strength, dignity, and fire into every room, every frame, every character she touched. From Clute to the Omega Man, Cash didn't just appear on screen, she commanded it. She had that rare kind of intensity that made you sit up, lean in, and pay attention. And even as she battled cancer privately, she continued working with the same discipline and grace that defined her entire career. Like many in her generation, she kept her illness out of the spotlight, choosing artistry over attention. Cash sharpened her craft within the legendary Negro Ensemble Company, the same training ground that shaped some of the greatest black actors of her era. That stage discipline, precise, serious, deeply rooted, followed her into film and television. In Clute, sharing screen time with giants like Jane Fonda and Donald Sutherland, Cash took a small role and made it unforgettable. In The Omega Man alongside Charlton Heston, she brought humanity and grit to a sci-fi world, playing a survivor with such conviction that she felt more real than the apocalypse around her. She moved across generations with ease, from working with comedy legend Moms Mabley in Amazing Grace to appearing in some of the biggest TV shows of the 70s and 80s. On television, she refused stereotypes and chose roles that portrayed black women as intelligent, capable, powerful. Doctors, judges, leaders, roles that mattered. When Rosalind Cash passed away at just 56, Hollywood lost one of its most quietly brilliant performers. She never chased fame or quantity. She built a legacy on craft, on integrity, and on the kind of performances that stay with you long after the credits fade. A true artist, a quiet trailblazer, a woman who encompassed it all. Madge Sinclair once delivered the unforgettable line, "I will not leave without Lisa." And in that moment, audiences everywhere felt the power she carried, not just as a queen on screen, but as a force in every role she touched. Sinclair possessed a regal presence that needed no introduction. Whether she was the Queen of Zamunda in Coming to America or the commanding, Emmy-winning head nurse on Trapper John, MD, she radiated authority, dignity, and grace. Her performances didn't just entertain, they elevated every scene. But behind that royal aura was a quiet, brutal battle. Leukemia, one of the most aggressive blood cancers, shadowed her final years. Yet Madge Sinclair kept working, giving everything she had to her craft. She showed up to set with courage, discipline, and an iron will, determined to remain an artist even as her body weakened. Born in Jamaica, Sinclair brought an international elegance to American television. Her voice, her accent, her bearing, everything about her made a character memorable before she even spoke a line. That presence made her role in Roots unforgettable. As Belle Reynolds, she helped shape one of the most groundbreaking miniseries in television history, a production that changed the way America confronted slavery and African American stories. And then came Coming to America, where she balanced comedy and royalty with effortless precision, playing a queen who was both hilarious and deeply believable. On Trapper John, MD, she created Ernestine Shoops, a character respected, warm, authoritative, and compassionate. The Emmy she won wasn't just an award, It was recognition of the quiet power she brought to every performance. Beyond the screen, Sinclair was a teacher and mentor, guiding young actors with the same care and strength she showed on set. She believed in lifting others, ensuring the next generation had the support she once needed. When she passed away at just 57, Madge Sinclair left behind more than a resume. She left a legacy. A collection of roles defined by strength, intelligence, dignity, and unforgettable presence. Every character she played carried a piece of her spirit, and decades later, that spirit still shines. Earl Cameron once said, "You wonder why one man's born white and another isn't? And how about God himself? What color is he?" Those words weren't just a question, they were a challenge to an industry that had shut its doors to men who looked like him. Earl Cameron was a quiet revolutionary, a man who walked into British film and television at a time when black actors were treated as invisible. Yet he refused to shrink. He carried himself with a dignity so profound that directors had no choice but to see him, truly see him, as an actor worthy of real characters, real stories, and real respect. From the 1940s into the 1950s, he shattered expectations with films like Pool of London and Sapphire, playing professionals, leaders, and fully realized human beings, not the degrading stereotypes Hollywood and London pushed onto black artists of that era. Then came Thunderball, the James Bond blockbuster that introduced Cameron to audiences around the world. His role was small, yes, but powerful enough to prove he belonged on the biggest stages in cinema. Earl didn't just survive in the industry. He endured. He grew. He became a symbol. Even in his 90s, he was still showing up, still inspiring younger actors who looked at him and thought, if he could do it back then, what excuse do I have today? When Cameron passed at 102 from pneumonia, the world lost more than an actor. It lost one of the last living bridges to the era when black performers first began breaking through the walls of British film and television. His honors, like being named an Officer of the Order of the British Empire, were long overdue recognition for a man who pushed open doors that others now walk through freely. Earl Cameron didn't just make history. He lived long enough to witness the change he helped ignite. And that may be the greatest legacy of all. Howard Rollins once said, "You put such a rage in my heart. Tell me what to do now." And if you know his story, you understand exactly what he meant. Howard Rollins wasn't just talented, he was electric. In Ragtime, he delivered a performance so powerful it earned him an Oscar nomination, embodying Coalhouse Walker Jr. with a fire and dignity that felt larger than life. In the Heat of the Night, he stepped into the legendary shoes of Virgil Tibbs and made the character his own, mixing quiet intelligence with controlled intensity. Hollywood should have opened its doors wide for him. But behind that brilliance was a man fighting battles most people never saw. Rollins faced a brutal storm of health crises, lymphoma, AIDS-related complications, and the exhaustion of trying to keep working while his own body betrayed him. And as if that wasn't enough, he was also wrestling with addiction, a struggle that shadowed his career and magnified every hardship. The industry can be unforgiving, especially to black actors carrying both illness and demons. Yet Howard Rollins never stopped trying. He came from the stage, trained with elite theater companies, and was widely regarded as one of the most promising black actors of his generation. He had the talent, the training, and the soul of a true star. Even when his health faltered, he kept showing up, still crafting performances filled with intelligence, passion, and quiet fury. He fought to stay in the craft he loved, even as life pressed hard against him from every side. Howard Rollins didn't just act. He endured. He fought. And he left behind a legacy of brilliance that Hollywood never fully knew how to honor. Elena Reed Hall, hello, ladies. Sandra, oh, hello. Off to work. Elena, yes. Well, you know what they say, those who can do, and those who can't, sit. Elena Reed Hall was the kind of actress who didn't just perform, she glowed. Whether she was Olivia Robinson on Sesame Street or the wise, steady Rose Lee Holloway on 227, she brought a rare mix of warmth, humor, and intelligence to every role she touched. She had a natural gift for connecting with audiences. Children, parents, elders, everyone felt at home with her. Even after she was diagnosed with breast cancer, Elena never stepped away from the craft she loved. She kept acting in television and theater, showing a strength that inspired everyone around her. Behind the scenes, she stayed bright, hopeful, and driven, refusing to let illness dim her spirit. On Sesame Street, she became a beloved figure for millions of families. As Olivia, she helped teach kids about friendship, kindness, and solving life's little problems. Her gentle presence felt like a hug through the screen. Then came 227, where Elena showed just how versatile she was. As Rose Lee Holloway, the calm center of a chaotic neighborhood, she delivered humor, heart, and a whole lot of common sense. She grounded the show and gave it soul. On stage, Elena's talent shined even brighter. She was a gifted singer with a voice that carried emotion effortlessly. Her theater work sharpened the skills that made her unforgettable on television and in film. And outside of entertainment, she used her success to uplift her community, supporting causes that mattered deeply to her. When Elena Reed Hall passed away at just 63, she left behind more than performances. She left a legacy of joy, education, compassion, and artistry. For decades, she helped shape the childhoods and memories of countless viewers. Thank you for honoring her story with us today. If you'd like to keep celebrating the lives and legacies of Black Hollywood, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these legends alive.